Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? This is an audio check. Can somebody give me a confirmation in the chat window that you can hear me? All right, perfect. Good morning. We have quite the audience in here. I see some of you have volunteered your location. So we've got some folks here from New Mexico in the US and Toronto in Canada. Whoops, let's make that noise stop. There we go. Where else do we have some folks in from? Italy, UK. How lovely. Fantastic. All right. Well, welcome, folks, to another installation in our series for our COVID-19 webinars. And today's focus is on rules-based personalization. Now, these topics are taken from our CMF course. And in our CMF course, we spend a couple of days going through all of the different marketing features, goals, campaigns, and so forth. So this is one of those sections. A lot of the people in the audience have experienced this training session, and we offer this to remind you of some of the things that we went over in the course and hopefully help you to apply it again in your implementations. So our topics are going to be, let me get my mouse in the right screen. Here's our agenda. And as you saw that we promoted was the following: context, digital footprint, fingerprint rather, 2 parts of a rule, creating personalization rules. And you'll see I've added something here for you. We'll go into a little bit of an exploration of adaptive personalization. And one of the first things that I'll talk about are the 2 different styles of personalization. And we focus on the first part of the personalization, and it's based on rules. But before we go there, oh, I see we have a couple of Miami folks. How lovely. Before we go there, let's talk about and remind ourselves what personalization is. So when we have folks come to our websites, you know, they're not there by accident. Typically, we drove them there through advertising or media, or they did a search for something and so forth. So basically, our goal is to take that intent, make it feel like the website fits them and entices them to come back or spend longer times there, meaning we want to personalize the content so it's relevant to them. And if it's relevant to them, then we can get further engagement with them. So first of all, let's talk about the behavior of the visitors when they come in. When they come into your website, they'll do things voluntarily on their own. They'll submit data by filling in a form and clicking on the submit button. They might take action like voting in a poll. They might be intentionally searching for content on your site, or, like I said, fill out some sort of form. You notice down below, we call that prescriptive personalization. So fill out a form, make a purchase, mark something as a favorite. So we're getting explicit behavior from that visitor, from that action. The reason we focus on that for a moment is because it's the simplest form of personalization, and it gives us the ability to have some quick wins. So, you know, sometimes the wins that we're going after take a bit of time to develop. And typically you have these discussions with your marketing team. You have a strategy, some sort of a phase. So we're talking about something right up front, quick win, easy to do, something we can do, build, create, and analyze through Sitecore. So the other side of the fence are the visitors who they haven't gone there with an intent. They haven't intentionally filled anything out, etc. So we need to know what they're doing on their site, on our site, so that we can track them, enhance the site, try and make it better. But this time, we're going to look for adaptation. So the site would be adapting to the footprint that they're leaving behind. So if they look at several pages or a type of page, if they're going through your site and navigating a path, eventually through profiles, personas, pattern cards, we can start to track that information. So then we can have personalization being based on that type of activity, what they look at, and whatever kind of pattern that the audience matches. So this way, maybe we can catch some fish that we weren't aware were coming over to nibble on that bait. All right. Let's talk about that digital fingerprint. I don't know why I keep saying footprint. Fingerprint, let's say. When you're dealing with a visitor on the website, they're going to leave behind evidence that says, hey, I've been here and I'm looking at your site. And how do they do that? They do that by the keywords they search with. They do other things. Some things they might be aware of and some things they're not quite aware of. IP address, other kinds of technical details that are exchanged by our systems automatically. But the way that that visitor interacts with the site or their conversations with that site are also valuable takeaways for us. So we can think of those like a digital fingerprint. So as an example, out of the box, these are the things that Sitecore is tracking about that visitor: IP address, the device they're using, the region they come from, etc. The ones I've added there in orange come from a basic configuration. In other words, once you're in the marketing section, working with that marketing control panel and your other applications within the dashboard on the Launchpad, we have the opportunity to create some patterns based on profiles and so forth. So then we can create rules based on that pattern matching, the interests that they display for the content, goals that they trigger, whatever level of engagement they are in the cycle of possibly buying something, etc. So does require a little bit of configuration. You can do that with most of your marketing tools. Last but not least, we have advanced configurations, things like their social data. What do you mean by that? Well, if they've arrived at our site via a link in Twitter, maybe we want to change the configuration or the way that the page displays and show some Twitter shortcuts and other options so they can just display their interest or pass it on. Likewise with Facebook, maybe get an approval or thumbs up or something like that to display on the page. So that sort of stuff. Automation state is another category. So these are the things that your developer can further enhance. So when you're looking at the options for rules of personalization, Sitecore gives you a plethora of options, but know that you can take that logic even further. So when we create a personalization rule, we work with a tool called the Rule Set Editor. There's 3 basic elements in this editor: the conditions, the actions, and the rules. So when you get into the dialog box, if you look over here to the left of my screen, here's the Create Rule dialog box where we go in and create a condition, edit the rule. When we choose to edit the rule, that's going to be based on any of the underlying set of words, and we'll choose options. So I'll show you that in just a moment. But with this editor, we can tell it as a result of the condition and then the action that we want to happen based on that condition. We can turn around and choose different types of actions. So change the way it looks, personalization, run some scripts, or create another step in an engagement plan. So as your implementation with Sitecore grows in its marketing strategy and the marketing implementations, as it becomes more sophisticated, you can have some great long-term automation happening in the background to help move your visitor through certain processes in your site. Again, based on their activities and so forth. So before you decide to go in and do any kind of personalization, you need to take a step back, take a look at your site, and start with analyzing your pages. Easy way to go. Like when they click this link, where are they going to land? So if you're doing a promo on Facebook, have a link, they click on it. Is this coming in from Facebook? Good. Maybe we want them to land on, in this case, this adventure website, the events page, because we're trying to get them to sign up for an event. So we want to promote all of our different events for them. So we'll look at that events page and we say, oh, right up here, that would be a great place to add some personification to, depending on the region or their interest or where the link came from and so forth. We might want to change some of the content across our different sections in our page that we refer to as placeholders. Here's another area where we might want to modify for this page. Now, if we have decided that that's the page we want to modify, then out of all those different options of where we can personify it, we have to decide what is going to be the most efficient for placing those rules. So changing maybe this banner up at the top or displaying some content over on the right. And if we have a page like this where we want to fill in a form, you want to make sure they fill in the form. If they're trying to sign up for a trip to the Alpines to go skiing, what we don't want to display at the top of the banner is a picture of the beach, right? The image alone will drive them away from filling in the form. So that would be a great place to add some personalization so that the image will match the person that's coming in to that page on the site. And we might want to display some additional content on the right. Now, in order to apply personalization, we have to first create our rules and so forth. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. Let me get into that screen for you. This is when I need some nice little transition music to be playing in the background. Here we go. All right, so this is the website I'm using for this demonstration. And when a person arrives, it takes them right into the main home site. Have a nice carousel up at the top with a couple of images in it. If I scroll down, we'll see some nice promos here for some different events and more content. I'm going to go back up to the top. And right in the middle, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to click on that. Let's go back. All right, page is refreshed. Up in the ribbon at the top, I'm going to click gear. Actually, I'll go to events. Let's do that. Okay, so as this person is navigating through the site, they are clicking on gear. They're going to these different pages. If they're interested in hiking, they'll click read more, and so forth and so on. So lots of opportunities to be able to apply some personalization to it. Let me get in behind the scenes to Sitecore. By appending Sitecore at the end, I'll log in as the marketer. All right. Now, I'm going to go into the marketing control panel for a moment. And you're going to see over here on the left-hand side, we have our taxonomies, goals, and so forth. So before I start building any kind of personalization rules, what I want to make sure of is that I have the appropriate goals in place, because if I want the personalization to change, it needs to be based on a trigger, and maybe one of the triggers is that they achieved a goal, such as they watched a video, or they signed up for an event, or they submitted a form, and so forth. Another area in the control panel that I want to make sure I've created first are campaigns. Again, something that can be triggered upon the submitting of a button or so forth, or navigating to a certain page, anywhere that I want to track that campaign was triggered, for example. So if you have a special promo. So these are things that I want to make sure exist in my marketing control panel. Now for personalization, we'll come down here to this section, and you're going to see that we have different areas where you can create your own folders to organize your different rules. We have a list of some predefined rules. In this situation, somebody came into the marketing center. This is one of the ways we can create it. They clicked on predefined rules, and here they clicked on conditional rendering rule, and they custom created a rule. And once they were finished, it was stored in one of the folders here. Now they have something that they can hook to a rendering or something. And if the condition is met, change the rendering. So let's take a look at one of these. Interested in hiking. Now, this one doesn't have any pages that are currently using this personalization, but it's nice that we can keep track of it under usage. Go over here to content. I'll lock and edit. And you can see that in order to create a personalization rule from within the marketing control panel to attach later, perhaps to a landing page, you come over into the marketing control panel, go into personalization, and choose to create a conditional rendering rule. Once you've clicked that button, you're here. So right now we're editing one that was created. They gave it a name, and then they clicked edit rule. And this is that dialog box that we were looking at a moment ago in the screenshot. Hold on just a moment. Let's see here. It looks like we have a question. Do you know how we can apply efficiently those and take care of some law like the European, privacy law? Any tips or warnings? Yes, that's a perfect thing that you could take to the developer. They can create a conditional rendering rule, and they can create different objects that display, or they can direct the user to, you can do a redirect to a page or something like that. So there's different approaches that you can go to via your developer, okay? And please adjust a little bit of the zoom. All right, we can do that because it's in the browser. Is that better? There we go. Okay, so let's go in here and create a rule. First of all, we start with conditions, and you have a list. And trust me, this is a very, very, very long list. So it's often nice if you have in mind the condition you're looking for, and you can do a search for it up at the top, like you do with the goal interface. A lot of options. So if I was wanting to add a rule that had to do with the visitor landing on a page or triggering a goal, I could just type in the word visitor. And here we go, where the specific tag is empty, etc. You can create your taxonomy tags. The ID compares to a particular value. Maybe somebody came in from a region, so you can see where the region compares to a specific value. I'll choose that. Once I've selected the condition, I'll come down here to the rule, unless I know that, hey, if this condition is met, this is the action I want you to have, all right? But before I go there, I could decide where or except where. And you can see already that this rule is one that I opened, right? This is not one that I'm creating. Remember, we're editing an existing rule. So what you have to be careful of is if you're editing an existing rule and you decide to start clicking in here, please note what happened. I added a new rule. So I did this so you could see that you can continue to add rules. You can have several rules going in place where it says, Rule 1, where the current visit matches the interested in hiking pattern. See there, that's that connection to the pattern we were talking about. And it's in the interest profile. Okay, now we have profiles, and the profile was pointing to whether someone was interested in hiking or interested in skiing. So we can match that viewer or that visitor from two different directions, pattern and profile. So that's first rule. Orders does matter. That's why you're given the option of moving your rules up and down. You can have multiple rules, but know that they're going to go top down in sequence. So let's look at the second one. And where, so I've got the standard and versus or, and where or except where. So I'll say and where compares to, I'll say it is equal to, I'll click OK, and then specific value, and I'll click on that. And I can look for a particular value, say, I'm just going to put in here UK. Now, hopefully, some of your values are populated with a drop-down list so that you don't end up with someone typing something in the correct, incorrect manner, whether they're abbreviating or spelling something out. So you can see this rule is here, and now I can move it up and down. Why are there actions on the right? I understand conditions. No, I have not set the action. Not yet. We're getting there. So first I said, these are the conditions. And this was someone that already had a rule in place. I added another condition to it. Over here on the upper right-hand side, those are my actions. You'll see a different interface when we go and do this from the experience editor. So what do I want to happen when this particular condition is met? When the region compares to a value, I'll just tell it to, for my example, I'll choose select rendering in to an item. Hold on just a second. There we go. Whoops, I have too many. And you can see I could change that item rendering, but instead I'm just to finish this out, I'll tell it to hide. Okay, so you can see that I have these options and I can click OK. My point is this can be quite complex, so please make sure that you document or have an idea or name your rules very well so that you can remember all the complexity that you built inside of that rule. So this is just one example. Now, if I decide, oops, I didn't mean to do that, I can come over here and edit the rule, and I'll go ahead and remove my rule and the action, put it right back to where it was, and click OK and save. Now, let's see here. Since you're using the UK in your condition, how would you capture that information on the visitor to be able to compare it in the condition? That depends on how your implementation is built. Most of the time, the GeoIP is configured from within your Sitecore implementation, and then what you as a content editor or as a marketer would supply in a value would be based on your agreed information or a drop-down list or with some sort of tie-in to a field value on a form that says country. I mean, there's multiple ways that you can capture where the user's coming from, and it would be tied into your interface behind the scenes for that visit via form, etc. Does that make sense, Gianni? Depends on your implementation. and how you're capturing that data. So if you're capturing the data from the user, they're not filling anything out, it's just the basic IP info. Yeah. Okay, great. Now, by the way, you can gently reach out to your developers, and some of this interface, you might want to knock on the door and ask them to give you some drop-down fields. Let me give you an example of why you might do that. And I always talk about with goals. I'll just go to this brochure request, and I'll come over on the right-hand side. Let me lock and edit. If you remember from your basic information about goals come in one of three categories. This is Sitecore nomenclature, and that is the goal being able to be set to some sort of a category like a transactional goal. Transactional meaning they gave you a piece of information about them, personal information, email address, something like that. That's a transactional type of goal. And so for more information on that, come back and revisit goals because there's a couple of other options. Point that I was making there is I had to type that. Now, what if there's a typo? What if we're trying to analyze or categorize our goals? What we do in discussions as a team needs to be brought into Sitecore to make your teammates' life easier, make your analysis of your goals, the types of goals. Those are filters that you can use in various analytics tools. And remember, we're going to be covering that in about a week or so, a couple of weeks. I don't have the date right off the top of my head. But again, bring it back to the developers. This would be a lovely opportunity to put a drop-down list where you can provide them with the options, and that way your team can make selections. So that's if wishes were roses and I could have my way, that would be a lovely thing to have, right? You'll see those kind of opportunities in many places. All right, so I'm not going to make a change to that item there. Let's look at another place again where, oh, one more thing. Let's go up to taxonomies. And if you've hung out with me before, you know I love talking about this, but I shall not go deep in this rabbit hole. We'll be here for a while. I just want to point out those options that you can see on some of those interfaces within everything that you do with marketing can come from this structure. And one of those things that we were just looking at, let me see if I can remember. No, that wasn't it. I believe it was it asset? Yes, no. Okay, I don't remember which one it was, but there we go. There was a campaign. One of the fields was being able to select one and choose. It was spring or it was autumn. These are things you create, but you can see that you can hook it up to other interfaces like your campaigns and your goals and so forth. And that ties into your personalization. Why? You might have personalization tied to the 4 seasons of the year. You might have personalization tied to certain cycles within events or your campaigns, or within your particular industry or field and the audience that you're working with, certain parts of the fiscal year if you're in certain accounting avenues and so forth. So these things you can create up here. You can create your own predefined rules. If I go under personalization and expand rules itself, any kind of custom rules that are added in, profiles, etc., will be here. Now, let's go take another look at a different way where we can create. Oh, if your screen gets blurry, it's a little bit of a speed issue. I'm on an Ethernet connection, but sometimes this VM gets a little slow. I'll try to slow down my clicks there. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. Where do we want to go? Let's go to the Experience Editor. All right. Now, I'm going to go to a particular page in our site. So under the View tab, I do have my navigation bar turned on. So on this gray bar right here, next to the word Home, to the left of the button Go, click that little caret, and I'm going to come down to the um, contact page and click Go. And we'll give it a moment to straighten out. All right, and I'll scroll down. So let's say that on this page, here's a form, and if they had clicked on this button, or maybe they landed on this page because they clicked on some link somewhere. What's another place that somebody might land on our website? Maybe you're trying to promote some events. So let's go to the events page. You're running an offline campaign or an online campaign, and maybe you're doing a promo for win a trip. All right, so I'm going to choose Lock and Edit. And I'm logged in as a marketer. I can see that in the upper right-hand corner. Now, I'm going to turn off editing because I don't want to edit a field. I'm going to come down to designing. We have determined that we would like to have this area on the left-hand side here. Let's see here. You know what? I'm going to choose the home page and I'll show you why. Let's go there. This doesn't have the placeholders I'm looking for. I want to find all right, we're in draft state. Okay. And we're still locked. Good. All right, I'm going to scroll down. I was here before when I was warming this up for you. Here we go. So on this page, there's 3 placeholders across here. Maybe we ran a promotion. These people have not entered the contest yet. And we know that because Sitecore has been tracking whether they've been with us before or not. And it's determined they've never come to this site before. So based on that personalization rule, this section of the page, we want it to display something else. So in this page teaser, up on this ribbon, I'm going to come over to the 3rd icon from the left, little people button we call it, and I'll click on that. And the first thing I'm going to do in the upper left-hand corner is turn on personalize the presentation of the component. Now I can come in and decide what I want to do. We always leave the default. That's what it looked like before I did anything. So if they've already met the condition, we don't want them to see the promo. We do want them to see that hiking placard. So let's add a condition over here on the upper right-hand corner. Now we'll say win a trip. That's our promo. And we're going to edit this rule. And here's that display again. So maybe in this type of situation, I want to change, let's see here, where they triggered a campaign. We'll go with that one. Now I'm going to click on specific campaign. And let's see here, win a trip. We'll do win a trip to Mount Fuji in Japan and click OK. And OK. Now what we want to do is show maybe something else. Right now, page teaser is fine, so I don't want to change the type of rendering. Let's see here. Actually, yeah, maybe. No, we'll leave it. So we'll leave it on the page 10 teaser because I didn't load something else up for you. The associated content is to win a trip to, we'll go to No, that's not what I'm looking for. I don't have the event there, so I'm just going to put something else just so I can demonstrate this. And as far as the page teaser goes, whatever I have here for my options, like maybe a call to action, we'll go with that one. That's fine. Let me change that call to action to sign up. We'll do that teaser. There we go. And I'll click OK. So now that same little people button has a little drop down, and I can sample how it's going to look by clicking on that condition. And there we go. You can see that my content has changed, and now we can encourage them to go to the site. And I'll go ahead and click Save up here in the upper left-hand corner. Now let's get back into that marketing control panel, because go back up to the Launchpad and marketing control panel. And what we want to look at is we did create a personalization. Actually, we edited one over here. You can see I still have it locked. So now it's not locked. So what I did not do is go and connect this to a page. It's one of the things I can do. Come over here to the content editor. And I'll come over here to home. And let's do a landing page and competition. Now, I want to see what type of item is connected to that page. I'm going to analyze. And let's see if they land on that page. I want to have a goal triggered. You select the page, you come up to goal, and you can select your goal. All right, so entered competition. So we know that when they landed here, we want a goal to trigger. We also want that when they landed on this page, that a campaign got triggered. So we click on the attributes button, which is that megaphone. And let's see here. Where's another win item? There we go. Win a trip. All right, so two things are going to happen when somebody lands on that page. We'll get personalization because a goal was triggered or because a campaign was triggered. So if you build personalization that says, like the example I showed you, when a campaign is triggered, do this. So now we can have personalization that's based on the landing page itself. Personalization that occurs in that first little panel that was on that left-hand side where I showed you that in the experience editor. And that was based on whether or not they signed up before. Now we're talking personalization every time they're coming into the page based on what campaign they triggered this time, etc. So we have a myriad of opportunities to work with here. Let's go and take a look at something else. So this is just a repeat of some of the information about rules-based personalization, but I do want to point out that with Sitecore, we have the key behavior cache. And it allows us to have information all about campaigns, events, goals, outcomes, channels, venues. So again, this is that behavior of that visitor coming into the site and how they're triggering any of these. Outcomes are expectations that you can set measurements so that you can decide how much of your outcome as you're analyzing your campaigns and your goals are you achieving. We think if these X goals and these X campaigns are triggered, then our expected outcome is X percentage of our visitors will convert. So an anticipation, an outcome. Then you have the channels that they came in with, YouTube, Facebook, etc., or the venues that brought them in. So all of these little hooks that we can gather up about that visitor's behavior and keep that in memory for us. Well, you can do venues, events it's another word. So maybe if you tied in events, like when we use this site, we're always talking about events, etc. Values, you can also do that based on, again, the conditions that are met. That's where you're going to specify the values. The other value that you might be thinking about are EVPs. So EVPs are the engagement value points. All of that is stored in the XP database. Yeah, XDB. Yes. There is some personalization that can be in place, but if you're that's just based on pages clicked. But full advantage of your rules-based personalization that's based on those factors. Remember I said the digital fingerprint? We had items that were teal, that's out of the box, okay? The items that were gold, they required working with the marketing center, your analytics, your XDB, and then the last one is custom tailoring. And that's going to be developing, working with your developers. Let's see here. One thing I've noticed when you need to test goals as a new visitor in your browser while it's live is to open each attempt in new incognito. Just some helpful info. Yes. Yes. Always use, what is it, private if you're in Firefox, incognito if you're in Chrome. I forget what it is in Edge. Yes. And then that way it gets ignored as far as counting it. All right, let's take a look at some other information here. Remember I said initially we're talking about behaviors that are, we think they're going to go to this page, or we're driving them to fill out this form, or we want to them to sign up or download a white paper or subscribe or any of those actions, all right? So now we're looking at the other side of the fence. We don't know what actions they're going to take. In fact, I see comments coming in. I can't make a comment on that, Gianni. Browser favorites. In fact, these visitors, this is a brand new marketing intent. We don't know. We've heard really great things if we take out an ad in the Super Bowl. We don't think so. Yes, we do. Big debate going back and forth. Finally, you decide, all right, we're going to do it. But we don't know what's going to be as a result. So we're going to use our analytics, track stuff, and then we can build plans from the future, etc. But we can utilize those tools that Sitecore has, again, with profile cards, profiles, pattern cards, contact cards, all of that information with the XDB to be able to gather that input and make more modifications in what gets displayed based on that journey that they make through our site. So let's take a look at this. Again, all of this turns back into goals, all right? You want to build goals. They're the key measurement to everything with your analytics, because that's where you're going to put your engagement value points connection. So in this example, if somebody gets to this website and downloads something, we're going to give them 10 points. If they request a callback, 25 points. If they sign up for an event, we'll give them 100 points. Sitecore's viewpoint on EVPs and what value you should set, it's an arbitrary number. You can assign a value from 1 and up. You'll see in a lot of our demos, recommendations, we tend to have easy to group together numbers. You see here 10, 25, 100. Just make sure everybody gets on the same page. Again, another opportunity to be able to maybe tailor a drop-down field. Once you decide goals can only have this value, you can restrict what values get assigned to a goal when goals are created by forcing the user to pick from a list and not type in a value. Otherwise, you can get some things like, yeah, I think this is worth 22. I think it's worth 23, and so forth. We don't want to be that picky. That'll waste our time. All right. So, hold on. We have a question. Is it possible to link up the personalization with Google Analytics goals? There are things that we do very well and things that Google Analytics does very well and things that we do that are complementing each other. So I do not advise people on whether they should use it or don't use it. And as far as how do we hook them up together, as far as what you can do with with Google Analytics, I'm a little bit foggy right there. I'm used to coming at it from the other side. um, let's see here, linking it up. So what you're wanting is you have a goal. You know what? The way I know that you can definitely do it is if you're going to do something with a maybe a campaign that's triggered to a goal. And if the campaign is, if you do something with the campaign ID where you're appending the query string, where it's the URL, question mark, the campaign, SC underscore camp equals, and then the campaign ID, anybody that clicks on it via whatever method they get there, that's going to trigger the campaign, which will trigger your goal on Sitecore side. I mean, you can do that with just even an email. But there you go. There's a recording. And let me explain my fogginess so that you don't think too unkindly of me. I did not introduce myself up at the beginning. My name's Michelle White, and I'm a former Sitecore trainer from several years back. And after sabbatical, have returned. And I'm recently returned, and I am plugging up my gaps here and there. And that specific topic, I knew it was discussed, but I couldn't get into the details. So, Jess Moore, thank you very much. Jess says, there was a presentation at Symposium in October, which explains why Michelle wasn't there. Oops, sorry guys. I'm still doing all my reading. That talked about using GTM to align Sitecore and GA. Worth finding that recording. Additional information. The speaker was David Ruckman, R-U-C-K-M-A-N. Okay. Sahana asked, are engagement values same as lead scores? Lead scores are something that you can determine as a group. That's your weight or measurement of the quality or the measurement of the, I want to say the quality of the lead, right? Engagement value points is the actual measuring mechanism within Sitecore to give weight to one goal over another. So let's get through this example. Again, Jess, thank you for that up-to-date information. Much appreciated. All right, let's look at this illustration very quickly. Oh, wait. Sitecore marketing license is an extra cost, so looking for Google Analytics also. Yes, I don't get into marketing licenses, but in order to harness all of the capability, you do need to have XDV configured, et cetera, that marketing license. It is worth it. So, but again, I digress. Back to our demo here. So, a person's going to come in through our site. This is a case of somebody came into the site and they bounced around the site, all those pages, and poof, they left. Next visitor comes into the site. They arrived via an organic search. They downloaded something. They signed up for an event, and then they left. And through those values, they accumulated several points. There we go. So they've accumulated 135 points. All right. Third person comes in, wanders about, triggers 2 goals, accumulates 35 points. That looks like our graphic slipped up under the text. That same person came back. Sitecore remembers they were here. Sitecore keeps track of what they do this time, adds it to the other, and their value is 170. So by gathering that information, the more points that a person racks up from triggering our goals, triggering our campaigns, the more interest they are exhibiting in our product, service, etc., what we're offering. So I bring your attention here to the digital relevancy map. And I mentioned this before in a previous recording. Basically, this is something that you're configuring as a team, stages of your buying cycle. And I bring these things up because these types of discussions that you have as a team, think about those team meetings when you're trying to figure out what kind of information you're going to capture, how you're going to build a promotion, how you're going to track the results, and so forth. In this case, we're looking at how are we quantifying our visitor to the site. What type of visitor is it? What are their objectives? These are the questions. Questions all about the visitor itself on this row. Questions about what they were looking for, how we're evaluating them, and so forth. By the answering of or recognition of what type of questions we're looking to seek the answers, this drives our ability to decide what kind of goals we need, tie them into the campaigns that we are asked to create or we know that we create every year at a certain time, and also tying in these personas into the profile cards, the pattern cards, and so forth. So, and that is where you really get the value of your marketing license. You're not just setting up goals. You're not just setting up campaigns. You're also setting up a very intelligent, highly responsive website based on a lot of configuration that a marketing person can do without having to constantly knock on a developer's door. That's powerful. And then to turn around and pull the analytics. So if you'll come and see me again, we'll talk about the Path Analyzer. And we'll look at some of these new exciting tools that we're working with within that world. And just in case there's still not enough bells and whistles, we can turn around and export all of this information into Microsoft Power BI, Tableau, and so forth. So it's very nice to be able to gather these kind of informations, etc. We can even connect to GA, Google Analytics. So let's take a look again at that digital footprint. Okay. Fingerprint. Aha. This time. This time the slide does not say fingerprint, it says footprint. Remember I was talking about that earlier. All right, so out of the box without the extra marketing license, there you go. The campaign, the visit, the device, the geo IP. Oh, I'm sorry, that's with the marketing box. My bad. Because we want to be able to connect to these regions and so forth, level engagement, pattern match, and so forth. And again, licensing, not my forte, but please do reach out to your partner, your account executive, whoever it is that you're talking with about Sitecore. Now, when you want to take this to the next step and start talking about utilizing adaptive personalization, how far can we go? First, we have to figure out who and why they are at our site. We have to configure their profiles. Then we can go in and take that profile card and configure personas. So I'll show you a look at one of those. We can look at the type of content and profile that content based on those configurations and the personas. We can decide, hey, we know that if you're looking at skiing, et cetera, and clicking all these items, then we have a predefined, this is a skier. So don't let them in the future arrive at our site looking at the Sahara Desert. They're not interested. They want snow. And then based on a pattern, just in case we didn't know, we can create that personalization for it and then adjust and optimize the site. So it's just 3 phases. Identify who your traffic, your visitor is, classify them, and then present the content based on that classification. Thank you very much. We have an audience member who is promoting our next gathering. We should throw you some candy. Thank you. Path Analyzer for Content Marketing webinars next week, Monday, June 8th, 2020. All right, some other terminology you should be aware of when you're going to create personalization based on an adaptation of where that visitor is going through your site. Adaptive personalization terminology. What is a profile? Category, so that we can decide what kind of criteria we want to track their behavior. Like, what's your interest? Are you a novice? Are you, they appreciate the candy. You're welcome. Are you an expert? Let me think about it. If you're really an expert at some sport, after a while, wouldn't you like that favorite equipment store that you like to shop from online not to present you with the newbie items, right? We want the expert level here. Profile key. So if the person is exhibiting behavior that is based on a skill, you might want to have your cameras displayed, the equipment, that's based on a profile key. So you can have the category, and then you can make it have keys that can attribute it to that particular profile. So you have the profile key and the profile. And then all of that key information is stored in the profile card. Whoops, go back. There we go. Profile card. So that's just your collection of keys. Turn around and apply that to your content and have your content change based on that process of their visit. Then we have this persona. Now, it's a profile card that gives us information about the persona. Here's where you'll get that. Susie. Susie is a semi-active person, likes to go hiking, has an interest in nature, and works in the IT field, so she's available on weekends. And so the marketing department calls her persona Susie or something like that, Sarah. All right, and then the content is basically any content that we decide that's going to be used whenever some sort of profile or value has been met. Now, in the real world, when they're at that site and they're visiting, that's your unique profile that's coming through from that visitor, okay? Based on that real-time value. And then the pattern is just taking a look and comparing that visit to other visits, and you're going to try and match what they're doing today. Sitecore, yes, look at what they're doing today. Now go look at what we thought that somebody might do. See if you can get a good match. And that intelligence behind the scene will start to categorize your visitor and now connect it, and you can start analyzing them. And as they get closer to exhibiting patterns that, hey, it's a skier, now the world changes. And then everywhere they look and every return visit, the content stays relevant. So it's a really nice combination of different values that we can track and different capabilities that we can use to capture that and affect change. So let's talk a minute about decay rate. So basically, you need to factor in for your decay rate so you can figure out how can we get that content to adjust and give better personalized content as we keep an eye on what they've done in the past with our organization, with that site. So, however long that profile is going to be active and relevant to that current profile, that's that decay factor. So basically, you can decide to, when the seasons change, when the styles that people are seeking are changing, and other types of factors, you can put a duration factor in there. So these are just different ways that you can apply that information. Now, before I go into this part, I'm going to escape out of this. Let's go take a look at some of these options that I was talking about here. So I need to make sure I'm in as marketer. There I am. So I'm over in the content editor. I don't want to be here. Need to get over here to the marketing control panel. Let's go take a look at some of our options for, if we look over here under the marketing control panel, we have our goals, our campaigns, we have our path analyzer, here's personalization, here's profiles, here's an event type. So for this website, and let me zoom in just a little bit. Here we go. Let's look at a profile. This is the event type. So in our world, we have lots of events. So this is just a category. Climbing events. So I'll take a look at climbing event and I'll scroll down. Name of this is climbing events. The max value is 10. So what we've established is that if somebody is going to tell us, or if we're going to measure how well they like to climb, we'll give them a value of maybe in a form, please select the following. Do you like to climb? They'll choose a value between 1 and 10. 10's the max value. So these are different types of events, cycling events, and so forth. Setting up what that value is, max value. Let me collapse that. Now let me scroll down. Actually, let me expand it again. Inside of events, for these different events, we have certain profiles. Let's take a look at those cards. All right. Here is Christina. All right. So Christina has a profile. If I scroll down, after we have our discussion as a marketing team, let me put this in edit mode. There we go. Based on that digital relevancy map that I was discussing earlier, I could come over here and say, this Christina persona, she likes to go hiking. That's a 10. She does like to do some cycling, but not on a grand scale. So we'll put a 2 on that value. So as we build this persona, we're getting this establishment of a graphic display, rather, of the type of value that we can associate with that type of visitor. So that's the profile card. If I come over here to the pattern card, I can see for family adventures, yes, I'll tell it yes. All right, let me go back down here to pattern cards. Let's see here. We got family adventures. Yep, we'll do family adventure. No, actually, we'll do mountain adventure. And maybe on a mountain adventure, we'll edit this one. If you go on the mountain adventure, our mountain adventures typically have a decent amount of climbing events, definitely have some hiking events, and absolutely we have some skiing events. So what we're doing, think about this graphic now as a nice little spider web, a nice little net. Don't tell your visitors I said that. But we're going to capture a larger set of audience for this mountain adventure because we're giving them a relativity target of 3 different events: climbing events, hiking events, skiing events. All you got to do is tell me you're interested in one of those, and we'll drive them to some mountain adventures or something like that. What is the difference between a pattern card and a profile card? That is a great question. So the pattern card is based on what is that person doing in your site. Are they looking at items on the event pages for cycling or hiking? Are those the pages? Because you might have some sort of campaign set up for the events. Don't this word events in this illustration is this world. This, think about REI as a outdoor sports company, and they have events that people go to. So don't think about like marketing events. All right. So in their world, they have these events, and they've got these random visitors that come up to their site. We're trying to track. We don't know what this person likes. So as they visit different sites, different pages that are in the events page, remember at the beginning of this, I showed you the website and it said, we have a page called events. And if we go to the events, let me show you just to refresh our memory. Let's go over here. Here we go. So here we are visiting the site. We can go to the events page. Now, once this visitor is at the events page, let's say they go to hiking. Okay, boom. I've established in one click that I like hiking. Now I'm on that page and I've clicked on hiking in the Italian Alps. Boom. I've clicked again and now triggered another goal, another campaign. I have 2 interests now set precedents. So right now in the background, the analytics is watching where I go, watching where I click, and capturing that. And these are maybe goals that are set to these pages that are in the events category. Remember, in this demo, events are a category, arbitrary category that their marketing team created. Now let's see, what else can I click in here and trigger? Let me scroll down. Oh, right here. So if I turn around and click sign up, you know, right now I've got a form going on here. They'd have to fill this in. But once I clicked on that, filled it out, and then click submit. See, that's 2 different events. They started to fill it out, then they changed their mind, and so forth. So there's all kinds of hooks that we can put in place here. As this happens, this information is gathered and it's categorized based on all of this structure that you create. And the Sitecore is just giving you a graphic. But in other words, the more that we want, if we want a really big event that's involving all of the above, then as we add values, we're going to capture a wider audience now. So I'm going to capture even more people. All right, here's a question. Is it useful and encouraged to have the events standardized with profiles and patterns and just change the values? You have different values for each one. And I think there's a little bit of confusion about, I can hear the slight confusion on profiles and patterns. Let's go there for a minute, shall we? Let's take a look here. Now, hold on. So just before I exit this, just remember, when you create a profile, you create a type of profile. Okay, here's an event type of profile. In the event type, they have these events: climbing, hiking, cycling, and so forth. And then they have profiles. People that do things that make us know that they like hiking or they like skiing. This is where we take stories and we set up the actors and their profiles, their personas, because that's how we like to talk about our audience. We have a name as far as their function, or we give them just an arbitrary name to describe that type of person. It's a type of visitor in your site. That's your profile. Pattern cards. Oh, I'm sorry. And in that profile, yes, I'll tell it yes. And we're waiting. So in that profile, you have your different card values, like if they like climbing events and so forth. All right, now let me collapse that. And you have the pattern card, so this is tracking where they've been. So they've done this for event types, for interests. These are the interests you're displaying. And they've also done this here for skill level. Are you a beginner, an expert, an intermediate, and so forth? Well, where did all these profiles come from? If I right click on profile and I click insert, I click profile and I can give it a name. So I'll give it a name, new profile. Now, automatically, it comes with its own subcategories, profile cards and pattern cards. You can right click each one of these and choose insert and create each entity that you're creating in that structure. Or you can come up here to home and insert as well. And if I scroll down, here you can see the type of profile, the description, decay rate, the image, and so forth. So I'm going to exit out of here and see if we can clear up a little bit of mud. I'm going to go into this folder. Whoops, wrong one. I like to show this every time we start talking about these. Digital relevancy map. You saw my illustration on the slide. So it's going to take it a minute to fire it up. But what this is a glorified spreadsheet that is, you have many meetings with your teams to discuss your strategy on your site and who you envision there, or who, maybe it's a site you've envisioned. Maybe this would be a great list of questions for you to ask if you're brand new to the site where you're working with your company on. So they've taken a spreadsheet, and there's many variations of this. There's a lot of articles, a lot of discussions that experts have had. Let me zoom in so you can see this better. This is a simple spreadsheet that has, let me create that, change that. So a simple spreadsheet that has 7 tabs across the bottom. First tab is the who and why. These are the different personas. Step 1, identify who and why this person is that's coming into your site, and different categories, how they became aware, the research, the decision, sign up, and so forth. This is just an example of what one organization did. Under profiling, so for the organization of our site, in our sample, they had event types, or they had interests, they had skill levels. So they built all this out in a spreadsheet and turned around and signed Sitecore items in the marketing control panel with these values, with these names, with these titles, with these descriptions, with these scales. Sitecore gives you the tools, the graphic interface to be able to attach it, and voila, it becomes a slider now so that you can work with the interface and transfer this information that you typically keep outside of say of a Sitecore implementation, and actually use the tools that are in the marketing center so you can have it all in one place. And that also keeps you all in one state of synchronicity. Okay. Hold on just a second, and I've got some questions there I see that are coming through. So under profile card presets, this is going in and tying together this persona with the event type. So as an example, Steve, you see highlighted here, he doesn't like climbing. He doesn't go to company-related type events or cycling. He likes to go to hiking, does not go to skiing. We're not establishing him creating an interest. These are just things that event types he likes. And as a hiker, he thinks that he's very skilled at it, or highly interested in it, sorry. He has no interest, say, and so forth. So you can see that these values are what you would attribute later. So it's just a worksheet. Profile content. So if you are a person named Steve, here's your column. Here's a list of content items straight out of your content feed section pages that are in various locations in your site. So here's Steve. Would he like the hiking page? Yep. And these 2 hiking pages as well. But Mario would like these 3 pages. He'd probably like to see these 3 pages. And you're just creating this relevancy of a map. These are patterns and so forth. So one of the things that we're talking about doing is setting up, the request came in when I brought this up. I tie this into almost every class because this is a level of sophistication that you can take your Sitecore implementation to that is really elegant and fun to work with. But it does take some good design concepts as far as discussions with your group to tie in your real world into these little tools. So one of the things we're doing is we'll be setting up a again, I believe that it's going to be a PDF. That could change, but it's a white paper or something that is either emailed to recipient and or put up on the web page where you found all this so that you can, here's all the Q&A from all these sessions. And we've been requested to put this spreadsheet up somewhere where you could download it, an example. But if you were to just do a search for digital relevancy map spreadsheets, you'll get all sorts of options. So basically, somebody created the spreadsheet, took that category of information, let me cancel all that, and went over in Sitecore and said, all right, let's go over here into Sitecore behind the scenes in the marketing control panel. And now let's create those. Now let me get to these questions. Is it useful, encouraged to have the events standardized with profiles and patterns and just change the values? So remember, those events were for this website, and they wanted to tie it with existing profiles that they knew that they had based on their previous customers. Think about this. If you existed as a company for a while and you gathered information, but you weren't tracking it very well, but you know your shoppers, you know what they buy. You've got that kind of analytics information. So then you come back and you go, all right, let's take a look at our site that we've had up for a couple of years. What kind of events or what kind of whatever it is that we do, category, Sitecore doesn't know anything about those categories. These are ways that you can categorize information and build behavior in the implementation based on the type of person that came into the site or the history of the person that came into your site and how they interacted. Okay, so one is a profile, okay, of who you anticipate. There's also a profile that's built based on their journey on your website, okay? You can anticipate the pattern they'll go to and build your own patterns and train Sitecore to match someone's behavior to your preconceived idea of where they're going to go. But Sitecore also has the intelligence to keep history, and you can take and analyze that information, and you can have automatic behavior start kicking into gear. It's very sophisticated. But in order to reach that sophistication, again, I'm pointing out that having just goals and campaigns and personalization rules is a great way to start. But the next level up is all of this behavior that's automated. Okay, remember way back in the beginning, and I said that there were 2 different types of personalization. That anticipated and behavioral rule-based, or the automated that you can develop over time. Now let's take a look at. Let me see here. Give you one more. I don't have that one on there. Let's take a look. Okay. So let me do this because this might help. I have a series of slides that has a nice explanation of each piece of this that I think that you would like to see. Remember that post this training, we are uploading all of my PowerPoints into a PDF. So what I had done is created an Easter egg, and now I'm revealing the Easter egg. So if you'll bear with me, I'm just unhiding. You would have seen these when you downloaded or you clicked on the link to get to the PDF or the email, however they send it to you. Hold on, let me pull this up. I'll give you a sneak peek. All right, here we go. So let me, one more. All right, let's get this up here. There we go. Now, before I get into this again, let me see what that question was. Hold on just a moment. I saw that you said something there. Okay, let's see here. So hang on just a second. So our profile cards used to determine which content to show in the personalization page. Okay, stop. Oh, wait a minute. And pattern cards used to assign values to a visitor based on their behavior to trigger personalization based on, all right, let me go back to the beginning. All right. Basic setup in the marketing control panel. Let's pull it up so you can see it. Where do I start? I'm in the marketing control panel. Let me get the page up here. Here we go. So when you're in the marketing control panel, let's collapse all this. You have goals. Here's a goal. Somebody requested a brochure. If somebody requests a brochure, they didn't give it a value. Let me find something with the value. Somebody wanted to sign up for an event. That's worth a lot of points. 100. Hold on. I see the questions coming through. The PDFs, a lot of stuff is going on very quickly, and I apologize. They are working on that mechanism. So all I know is that it's going to be up there soon. It'll be resolved by the final class. We'll know where those are uploaded. I would say that by that Friday, everything should be up by then, okay? So please do bear with us. And we are keeping meticulous notes. We will not forget, all right? So the PDFs, I will find out. I'm still waiting. We're either going to be putting it out. I heard email, but I heard that not only will emails be out for the ones that we actually have the address of, but also it will be uploaded to the site in some fashion where you can click on the link and download it, I believe. Yeah, no problem. Hang in there. All right, so back to our basics. You need a goal. Why? I got to be able to measure it. If I don't have this, I can't go into my reports and analyze something very important, value per visit. You can have 1,000 people hit your pages in a day, but if they're interacting with you is below 10%, that's not very effective. But with a well-designed campaign and so good marketing, maybe you get a smaller group of people coming in, I don't know, maybe 725. But of that 725 that was directly marketed to and it resonated with them, you had a return rate of 82%. So you'll see that by value per visits and other factors. So you get that numeric value by setting up your goals. All right, so that's step one. Step two, you have campaigns. You have online campaigns, offline campaigns. So if you have a social media campaign, Facebook, and you have a share button and it's going to trigger a campaign, you've got a campaign that you can now append to a URL by putting the full URL question mark and then everything you see I've got highlighted in blue for that campaign. Somebody clicks on the link, it triggers the campaign, okay? And then the campaign is measured by attaching a goal to that button. So when they click that button, share, campaign is triggered, goal is triggered, we're accumulating points. We know where that person came from. We know what marketing tool we use to get them there. We know what hook grabbed them. Cool, basic information. Love it. It's organized however you like it. Online, offline, social media, so forth and so on. All right. So what if it's online, offline? Set up your landing page, give it an alias. Now you've got a nice little easy, here's our web page /radio because they heard the ad on the radio or they saw a poster. All right. This events item has nothing to do with Sitecore. This is a folder that this website designers created because this company has events, and in their world they have a personalization event and a marketing I can't even say the word, automation engagement score change. Oh, here comes these score values. Totally different conversation. Quick exit before we get questions on that because you don't have time. All right, etc. So these are our basics. What I'm talking about with personalization is you can come in and personalize content, again, by rules, creating your own rules that you want, your own custom pre-designed rules, conditional rendering rule, okay? Or you can just have baked under the hood from all that digital fingerprint that the visitor has left behind and set up those rules. And then when those rules are met, your environment changes, etc. All of that is basic. All of that has nothing to do with profiles, pattern cards, and personas. So now I'm going to go through those steps real quick that talks about this just a little bit more granularly, and we'll see if that clears the air. That is still going to open the door for you for quite a journey. Remember, I'm giving you the tour, if you will. All right, so let's go talk about profiles, profile cards, pattern cards, and so forth. So let me come back to our PowerPoint. All right, so again, this entire conversation was based on, we understand we can personalize content based on whatever values that we set up as happening, whatever trigger that we set up, how they got there, what they searched for, what link drove them there. That's all basic stuff. This is the next level. Level up your Sitecore marketing aspect, right? First thing, identify who's there and why they're there. Okay? And configure the profiles accordingly. So if they come in and there's someone you expect, your profile says they're coming from this location, change what they're going to be looking at and go on. But that's something that you created. In this case, we don't know. So we're going to have some hooks in place. Hey, Sitecore. Yeah, Michelle, what do you want now? You know, when this visitor comes in, yeah, I want you to pay attention to their address, their zip code, their country. Why don't you pay attention to how they got there? Why don't you pay attention to what time of day they got there? Whatever I'm looking for. Then based on anything that they trigger, I'm interested if they do the following things, because if they do, I would call that person a person that likes to go hiking. Okay, so we're going to configure that profile to match the hiking profile. All right, that's identify and build or match a profile. Classify it. So in our world, in order to classify them, we have to configure what that profile card is going to be in that persona, what content will match that profile, and see if we can figure out and anticipate. Look, if they're a hiker, I know that we have 5 pages that are exclusively all about hiking. we know that when they do a search on our site, those 5 pages are going to come up. So that is a predefined visitor pattern, and I think they're going to go to those pages in this order. So now we can create personalization. If the user, if the visitor arrives at this page and then clicks on this link, which takes them to this skiing page, make a note. That's a step of, hey, expressed interest in a page. Didn't you create a profile card that said that that was an interest? Yeah. Well, Sitecore just matched that. Okay, profile's starting to get built, and so forth. So we have to figure out what that pattern is, and we can basically set up what we think the pattern is going to be. Over time, Sitecore keeps remembering their previous visits, and it can start adapting what they see based on their decisions. It's always based on what they do on your site. Now, again, we're targeting that person we don't know. We'll build that personalization based on the pattern, and we'll optimize it. But I'm getting you to this. Here they are, those steps. Step 1, figure out what your target group is. All right? So, why are they at your site? What do you want them to do? And what kind of content do you need to display to get them to do what you want them to do? It's part of their buying process. Now, go figure out what their profile cards are going to be. So every business is unique, and the criteria that you identify your visitor with is going to be unique to you. So you have to figure out what that customer information is that helps you win your business. So that'll give you a good idea about what profiling keys you need. So first, you should profile content according to your site audience, segments, their roles, criteria that matters to you. Next, you want to figure out how to transfer that into your profiles. So for your notes, why don't we simplify it? Profiles equals categories. Write that down. Profiles equals categories. Now, profile keys, see the second column there? So here's our profile. We have event types of profiles. We have people that express interest. That's a type of profile. We have skill levels. That's a type of profile. We have beginning, intermediate, and advanced people that come in. That's a way of profiling our audience. All right, column B, profile keys. Profile keys equals attributes. So write that down. Profile keys equals attributes. So attributes of a profile of an event type. Oh, well, we have 5 different types of events: climbing, company-related, cycling, hiking, skiing. They all fit within, those profile keys fit within the profile category. Cool. For interests, we have climbing, cycling, hiking, skiing. 4 different profile keys for the interest category. And for skill, we have beginner, intermediate, expert. 3 profile keys for the skill level profile. All right, third column over here, scale. All right, if you are going to, I don't know, maybe we do a survey or something. You can build a form where they can literally choose and manipulate a slider and express their interest or pick a number from 1 through 10. That's one way of gathering information from them per the scale that you decide you're going to go with. We're going to measure how well someone likes something on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay? And you could put some logic behind that starts building up and accumulating points that way if you want, but that's done through EVP. That's, again, you don't have an interface for them telling you that, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, I like a 7. So those are values that you can have them fill out for themselves, or that you associate when you're trying to describe the difference between a really raw, nature-loving, barefoot, I'm going to run around in the forest with nothing but my hunting knife and my bare feet and my jeans and a shirt and a jug of water. hardcore, and I'm gonna live on nature for a week, versus that's a person on a scale of 1 to 10 for their hiking interest and skill level. They're going to be on a 10 on the skill level, expert. They're going to be a 10 on the hiking and on the climbing, and they're going to like certain events of that. So again, a way that we're kind of configuring what their profile is. All right, I think you're starting to get the flow here. So now we got to configure their profile card and the persona. So step 1, who are they? Why are they there? Step 2, figure out the profiles. Step 3, figure out the profile cards and the persona. So you're like, oh my gosh, Michelle, I had you and then you lost me. What's the difference between a profile and a profile card? A profile card is a collection of profile data all stored together in one spot. Oh, okay, got it. Right? The persona, fictitious character that represents a certain type of visitor to your site. So like we said here, maybe we've got Mario and no, not Mario. Who's a hiker? Steve. Steve, we think Steve likes hiking at a level 10. Well, if he's a hiker and he has a high level of hiking on 10, we're not going to assign any value for cycling, etc. And then, you can start building these values up, etc. So there's 2 types of profile cards in Sitecore, if you wanted to write this down. 2 different types of profile cards. Type 1, standard. Type 2, persona. So they both get defined by those key values, and they both display to you in Sitecore in that radar diagram that allows you to capture a broader range of audience to direct your traffic to a certain place in your site, or narrow the scope. As you saw when I went in and I looked at a profile, if all they're interested in doing climbing, I'm targeting a narrow, um, what's the word I want? Scope. Yeah. Yes. Hold on just a second. Let me interrupt this. I'm almost done. I know that I'm taking you over a little bit on time. Let's see here. Each of the profile items individually makes sense to me. I never totally grasp how they are used together or what benefit I get from setting them up later in Sitecore. And can we get a copy of the spreadsheet? Yes. And Jess has got clarification. Okay, good. And Bill, I think they would be used in personalization rules, like if visitors' hiking interest is greater than 7, show this, not that. Ding, 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 ding. Bingo. Custom personalization based on a profile or based on someone matching a persona that you anticipated, but you could never be sure. And you know your industry, and I'm trying to tell you that we're getting these people in from the site, but nobody believes you. You can measure this now. You can prove it with your analytics. You can see if your advertising concepts are working out correctly. You can personalize it based on your anticipations or test scenarios, you know? Now, option 2 is that level of sophistication that based over time. It's just like shopping at the various sites that you go to. You could go to one of those sites that every time you come in, oh, you bought this and this person like that, and we recommend this, and it's always changing because it's always paying attention to everything you're expressing an interest in. So that's all we're creating here, is that we want to get that automation in there so that you're not always having to come in and take care of that manually. But yeah, you can have Sitecore push the visitor a certain way if they keep establishing certain pattern. Why would you do that? Because sometimes people are going to come into your site and you think they're going to go a certain way, and they do because you drove them that way with your marketing. But over time, they're not static. They're dynamic. So their interests are going to change, and their interests will change based on what their needs are, or their desires or how they've been influenced. And we sometimes can't anticipate that, but we can build a Sitecore implementation that keeps an eye out for that, keeps it relevant. And then through that information, you're not tracking only these changes in taste. Now you can see where product taste is going and where desires are changing and modify. So it can tell a very elegant story. All right, let's finish this out here. Step 3, configuring your profile cards and persona. Here's your tips. For each profile list, 4 to 6 possible presets that you can decide what your different personas are, what interests they're showing you in your service or product. There's stages of certain cycles in your world, okay? Take your profile cards and personas, create your spreadsheet, fill in your presets, assign your values, make it easy for your content editors. Please, this cannot be drilled in deep enough. Please don't create goals and campaigns and all this stuff without bothering to put a few words of descriptions. And I'll direct that comment very nicely and in a really sweet please voice to any devs listening in on this call. If you were given a preset of items to create in the marketing control panels, etc., for goals, etc., from the marketing team, please be nice and put all descriptions in there. Make it easy, because there's always going to be someone coming in trying to work with the Sitecore interface. And there might be several items in your content tree at various locations. Just like in the content editor, your marketing control panel can suffer from ambiguous naming. So be real good about the naming, be real good about the icon use different kinds of icons, use the description fields. The less confusion we have, the more consistent work we get together as a team. Now, the last little bit is go in and create your profile cards and presets in Sitecore. Then you can take your this sheet is about taking your plan now and putting it into action. Now we're going to go assign a value to the content using the profile card presets in here. So we'll use this map or this list of site content that's over on that left. It should mirror out my content tree. Straight out of Sitecore, get my content tree, put it in this column for all my pages, right? So in our site, we've got an events section, cycling, whatever your structure is, put that here because these are pages. Because one thing right off the bat is that you can turn around and assign which content is relevant for each profile card or pattern card persona. So if somebody expressed an interest in hiker, they're going to want to see these 3 pages. If they're a climber, they're going to want to see these 3 pages. And let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 more. So they want to see these 9 pages and so forth. So there's a decay rate field, Jess. I can go dig it back out. In your control panel, when you're working with your personas and all that, just check your item. The link is automatically processed in some way and sent to those that couldn't attend, and it's also on display in the website, I believe, that got you here. After a certain time, it would be uploaded. All right. Okay, so once we've done this, by the way, just a few more tips. So take a look, export your sitemap or list, put it in the spreadsheet, and this is just all the tips. For each content, evaluate which profile card could be applied. Maybe you have multiple cards that are to one single content item, and so forth. So a lot of the strategies and the tips and tricks I've been talking about are here. So again, when you get this PDF of this PowerPoint, you'll be able to see these. And step 5, you can configure predefined visitor patterns. So For profile cards, you can create patterns that represent the different behaviors. Once they arrive on the site, they start consuming content. Your cards then get applied to that content, and then that gets used to build the real-time visitor profile. And that's matched in real time to whatever pattern it most closely resembles, and pages start adjusting content because of their behavior. And again, why? Because they were fine looking at all the climbing for 6 months. Now it's coming up on winter, and they don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to go to snow in the winter. They want to go to the beach. So their interest has changed. So the site needs to change. Why? Because they're looking at different stuff now, and we didn't expect it. That's the beauty of all of this. That's the reason why. So does it take meticulous thought? Sure. A well thought out plan, a strategy, but now you've got tools to hook your strategies to within Sitecore. So again, bunch of tips and steps for each one. So for each profile, list 4 to 6 different possible patterns and so forth. So all of these tips are in that PowerPoint. All right, last but not least, you create your personalization based on whatever the pattern is, and then you always circle back through on some sort of given schedule with your team, come back and adjust and optimize. However often you pull the reports and decide, hey, wait a minute, hey, have we ever seen this pattern before? No. Look, let's capture it. Why? We're getting a lot of revenue off of that. Let's grab that. Ta-da! Now we have a new pattern or a new profile, etc. So we want to go back, change how we personalize content, etc. So all that data gets gathered in. And the first things that we should look for when we want to optimize how we're personalizing that content, this is why you can build all you want with the rules personalization, but I cannot stress enough the importance of how beautiful the automated personalization can be for you. So as we're looking at our site, where are the pages that we're not getting very much engagement from? Why aren't we getting any conversions on these pages? And we start looking at, profiles, behaviors, bounce rates, how long did they hang out? What did they download? How many times did they return and visit that page? All of that factor. These are all the kind of questions we'll be asking because it's low engagement. And I don't mean to be telling you what you already know. So for those that are like, yeah, we already know this, thank you for your patience. All right. Something else, conversion versus traffic. Hey, we built all these profiles. Now let's go back and revisit them. Were we right? Are these good profiles? Is this a well-performing profile or not? We started this company, we had a lot of hikers, but over time we became famous and we had a lot of celebrities really promoting all of our high-end gear. So now we're known by a completely different audience. And so conversions, traffic, where it's coming from, which profiles have changed. And once we've decided what those values are, go back and look at the intent, go back through the process, decide how to modify the content. So I am at the point here that I want to just take a look one more time. Hold on just a second. I'm just scrolling through here and seeing. Look and see if we have any other questions here. So while I'm doing that, you folks, how'd you do? You got a lot of content? We have a link in here. First of all, the link to the recording of this webinar will come in an email from mail@23.net. I thought I also saw it up on the page somewhere as well where we're promoting it. But yes, if you've been an attendee, it'll come from that email. If you haven't seen it, go check your junk email and make sure that it isn't being looked at or reviewed as being spam. Okay. I've got some links up here for additional resources as well. The Sitecore e-learning. You know, we have some great e-learning content that dives even deeper into a myriad of subjects. Please go there, take a look around. I think you'll like what you see. See if you can take a few of those options and gain even greater depth, and know that we've got some content coming up. You know, we are taking some of this feedback and we're putting it out there into that creative world that we have of creating new content and seeing where people want to go a little bit deeper, maybe possibilities, don't quote me, on some workshops, in particular, creating, doing some sort of a workshop about exactly this topic, personas, pattern cards, profile cards, and so forth. There's also our knowledge base, Sitecore documentation. We have a Master Sitecore YouTube channel. I do encourage you to go there. There's a lot of interesting, um, a few interesting content pieces in there I think you'd like. I do like to promote the Sitecore chat in the Sitecore Slat application. Also, their Sitecore Marketplace. There's a lot of things that marketers have requested over the years from developers that and content editors that in our communities, our developers are really united, work well together. They blog all the time together, useful blogs and lots of coding events and a really great platform and connected world that we dwell in there. So lots and lots of resources, and they develop custom modules, if you will, that can be brought into Sitecore. Let me warn you, this is open source. Please be careful. Please do evaluate anything that does intrigue you on the marketplace, such as publishing schedule modules and that sort of thing. If it's not marked by Sitecore, it's not sanctioned by Sitecore, and that is at your own risk. So, but if it is marked and sanctioned by Sitecore, or produced by Sitecore, or approved by, then you can get support with that module through us. All right, let's take a look here. Again, mail at 23.net for receipt of the link to the recording of this webinar. There is a link. Fantastic. Thank you, Lee. There's a link in the chat, which, by the way, I'll include it for those that are that don't capture that link in the question and answers. I add that sort of content, so you'll see that come up when this one gets put out. I think it's next week. They should all be up by the end of the following week. Let's see here. Sitecore, Stack Exchange, all about the profiles, decay rate, and what it actually does, etc. Yes, there's quite a bit of reading in there. We could spend a whole 40 minutes just topping on that topic. All right, now, also, same thing with the spreadsheet. Just FYI, see, Hannah, you guys know the state of events in the world. So there have been, for various reasons, slight delays in getting certain content up, etc., out, and I greatly apologize for that. But please bear with us and stay tuned. We've got your addresses, so we will be in touch with all of that. Let's see here. I don't see the link in the chat that you're talking about. All right, let's see which. These are questions. Let's see here which. Let me look over here. All right, so all right, so you know what it is it's coming through in the general chat, not under the questions tab. But don't worry, capturing it. So like I said, please be patient. I don't just do these little webinars, so not trying to make an excuse. Some of you might be familiar with my voice. I am on the training team, and I do several different types of training, working with the web experience manager and the marketing, developing. So we're on that team. So anyway, yes, this is coming. Please bear with us. Like I said, I believe that we discussed making sure that this was available via a couple of different ways. I know email was definitely that another email would follow with the link to all of these Q&As once they get flushed out. And then the other topic was that through whatever vehicles we use to tell you about this event, that we would use that medium to reach out to you and touch base with you and say, as a reminder, here's where the uh, documents are, et cetera, et cetera. So hold on just a second. Still going through these questions real quick here before we wrap this up. Spreadsheet, again, that's going to come out with the Q&A because everybody's been asking for it. It's quite useful, isn't it? Back in the day when I was here before, we didn't go into that granular detail. So I know that we had developed some stuff, but it wasn't part of what we had the time to do. And now it's all been built in. I'm so thrilled. And I really do want you to go take a look at all that e-learning content. The development team for that is doing a fantastic job. And we welcome requests. Send in the requests. Let's see here. What else I was looking for? Okay, somebody I was missing. Is there a download available with the site you demoed today so that we could stand it up locally and review? Okay, here's what we have for options, Brett. We have a site. I have to verify this. This is what I'm going to verify. And this will be included in the Q&A document. There used to be a site that you could go to and explore with some personalization that was built in. We've been redesigning a lot of things. This is why I'm double checking as to what is still live, what of the new stuff is up yet, etc. Like I said, I've only been back for a few months, so thank you for bearing with me. And this site allows you to interact with it from a different viewpoint. What else can I tell you that would be available? Let's see here. Now, as far as content that's, we used to provide something, again, I'll research it, Brett, and I'll include this on the Q&A. There used to be something that you could actually, in fact, I know there is. Brett, are you a developer? What's your role? Is this a developer asking me this question or a marketer? What do you do? There are different answers. You are my first guess or my second? Developer or marketer? He says, I am. Are you both? Okay, so you're asking me about, from a developer's perspective, about the site to download. All right, so there is an answer on that. It's a bit more in depth. I have to find out because I think it was being redesigned with different content. Our previous content was based on, that's as far as I'm going to go in this conversation. I'm just going to tell you there are a couple of options. Let me make sure I direct you to the correct one. All right. But you're going to have a license to be able to stand it up. So that's a separate discussion. Again, reach out to Sitecore, your connections with Sitecore, and they can help you with that as well, or your organization. Okay. And also you could Put an email out to, hold on just a second, and I'll get you an email that you can send that developer question to. Okay, and that'll circle back to our team, and I can get you correct information. Let me get this for you. All right. So it is, hold on just a second. The question came through. Can you suggest to us how much cost for a marketing license exactly? Absolutely cannot do it. It's not in my, I'm so sorry for your question, but it's completely not even in my knowledge factor at all. With the training team, we are content and software and all that sort of stuff. And I know nothing, Jon Snow. I'm sorry. All right. Okay, Brett, I'll tell you what. Okay, Brett says, I was largely thinking of how to get a sandbox up for our marketing team with some pre-set up profiles, goals, etc., so they could poke around and see how it works as an example. Okay, you have a great need that needs to be specifically asked. So, do you have a Sitecore contact on your developer team? You should have some sort of, you're either working with a Sitecore partner or you guys have, yeah. Okay. Are you guys both located in the US or where? I should ask that. Excellent, Brett. That's what I want you to do. Talk to your partner first, okay? Because they may have a sandbox already built. Yes, talk to the partner first. If they don't, they can reach out. Sorry, my voice cracked. They can reach out to Sitecore and talk with that team. Now, there is, if you look online, a place where you can get a developer sort of playground for, a trial or whatever. I don't know what the rules are of it. I don't know how much it has changed. I know that it exists, etc. Now, if you're wanting the specific thing that I'm talking about, all right, fine. You're in the U.S. So if you're in the U.S., talk to your partner. You can reach out directly to Sitecore, US training at sitecore.net. For our developers, when they attend our developer class, there is a implementation we work with for the 4 days that we're in training. But this question comes up in that class, and we have a couple of things that we say. So if you direct your question to the US training team, then the response can come through in the proper form and all of that. All right? With all the details and links or whatever. All right. I want to thank everybody for your time. We've run over to a little bit, but it was my pleasure. I hope that I've answered most of your questions to your satisfaction. Anything that I could not answer, we're capturing, try and get out as soon as possible, give at least 5 days just because of schedule. And we should have everything sewed up neatly. We have one more session to run. That's going to be on June 8th, where we work with the Path Analyzer, my super favorite little tool. Lisa Chappelle, I want to thank you for that compliment. A bit ago, she said, it's impressive, this series. Now I lost it. I think that's because it keeps moving when somebody, what was that? There it was. It's impressive this series was pulled together as fast as it was. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can tell you that the marketing team is, outstanding. They really got the dream out there and into your awareness, and the whole team it took to put this whole thing together. Just on the education team, and just it was a lot of fun. And you're right, it was super fast, and we got a lot of concept back about some ideas of where you'd like to see more learning be developed. So we're always welcome for that. So again, I'm going to wrap it up here, folks. It's been my pleasure to be with you today. My name is Michelle White. This was your tour of another exciting realm of the Sitecore world, working with rules personalization and uh, based on rules or based on behaviors adapted over time. I wish you happy site coring and be well. Take care. And I will tell that somebody else says, well done, Sitecore marketing team. Great idea to put on these webinars. Yay. And do reach out to your partners, folks. Your partners also offer some really great content and little strategy sessions, and I know quite a few that put on their own special webinars and other types of knowledge exchange. So welcome to the Sitecore world. We're happy to have you. Bye-bye.